sometimes when getting started with Dev Container, it helps just to see a couple of examples. So in this case, we're going to get started with this Go application, and we're going to use Dev Container to control not only what's inside the box, but also some of the workflow around this project. So the first place to start is to add a Dev Container file. Now you could type it out. In this case, we're actually going to go and grab the command palette to say dev containers, add dev container configuration files. Now we have a lot of options. You could actually just pick the Go base container, but I want to show a different feature. So I'm going to grab Ubuntu. Jammee's fine. Now we have additional features that we can install, and we're going to say Go. So we're going to install it. We're going to install Go through a feature. So a feature is a way to add anything you want on top of those base containers. So there's features for tools like the AWS CLI. Earthly is a build tool. There's hundreds of tools. The JQ set of tools, if that's something that you want, and you'll be able to add those on top. But we're just going to start with Go. We're going to configure options. We're going to use 121. And then now we've got our base container and we've got some additional bits. So if we recall, this Go application actually runs something on port 3000. So there is something that we can do to make that slightly easier. We're going to go and add a port attribute. What's going to happen here, we're going to go ahead and get rid of all of this because we don't need that. That's just noise. We're going to add a port attribute, and we're going to say port 3000. So when you see port 3000, go ahead and open automatically a preview for that. And then, because we're using VS Code, we want to do some VS Code extensions. So what we're going to do is we're going to customize VS Code. We're going to make sure that it has the Go extension installed. And then within the Go extension, we want to set a couple of variables. So we're going to make sure that the editor is actually using Go as the formatter, and that the language server uses semantic tokens, which is just, I find it easier when we're doing that. So now we have a dev container that has all the different pieces that we need. So let's go to the menu again, the command palette, and we're going to rebuild and reopen. So what's going to happen here is we are going to switch from using whatever the underlying host is to using dev container. So this very different on your local machine. It's whatever your local OS is. I think the defaults in both Codespaces and Daytona are the universal image from Microsoft, which is kind of like a kitchen sink image. It's certainly got Go installed, but it also has Python and probably Node. It has a number of tools installed. It's quite large. It's really useful for, like, I don't have anything defined, but once you put a dev container in there, you'll probably want to do something more specific so that you can make those images, one, more tailored, but two, also smaller, which will also make things faster. So it's going to build this dev container from scratch. One of the sort of the benefits is, especially in the remote environments, you'll be able to use pre-builds, which will speed this time up. But for this, it'll take maybe a minute or so for this actually to build. If you think about it, what's happening in the background here is pretty amazing. So we're pulling down the base container. We're making sure it's up to date. We're going to install on top of it a very specific version of Go and make sure that's up to date. So this is actually, this is the installation of Go happening right now. And it's checking the signatures. It's also installing a bunch of the Go tools so that when this starts up in VS Code, we have everything that we need, and we don't have to go installing additional tools to make the IDE work exactly how we want to. So it's installing the language server, That just went by. Now it's doing a bunch of the static check tools and a bunch of the easy tools, setting up the debugger and other bits. So this will be done here in a moment. And then once that's done, we'll have everything we need to go ahead and get started. And it's a relatively easy way to add functionality to. So it took about 103 seconds from my local machine to do this. And now we're inside the dev container. We've got the extension installed. And so everything that we need is here. So if we go to main and hover over, we'll see the language server doing exactly what the language server does. And hopefully here in a second, we will. Oh, so what happened is you'll notice I don't actually have the application up and running. So if we actually run the main application, then we'll get our automation where it pops up the preview for us. So let's have this go. All right. And it noticed port 3000. And now we've got port 3000 up and we've got a browser doing what we expect. So that was an easy way to make this work. What we could also do is you could drop this into your dev container. There'd be a way to do, so on attach, for example, or let's see, post attach. So post attach, go ahead and run this. And what will happen is it'll automatically start that for you. But this is just an easy way to get started. And now you've got the beginnings of your own environment in Dev Container. So stay tuned for more. We'll do more languages and more technologies in the future.